The deathbed thing, as it relates to our narcissistic parents, mother, father, whomever, I'm a survivor of a mother who is a sociopath and a narcissist, and I always say evil doesn't die, right? She is still alive. She's dead to me, has been for well over 30 years. There was a little blip 17 years in, like for a millisecond, and so really I've been no contact with her for well over 30 years. And this comment was on a video where I talk about, like, in my younger years, I would wish that my mother would call me to her deathbed and apologize and tell me she loves me and all of that kind of stuff, right? Because I didn't recognize that actually would have no value to me. I thought at one point in time it would be valuable, it would be healing, and at least I would have a connection to her and a mother I could grieve and all of that sort of thing. And I came to recognize that if she did that, it would be for her own purposes. It would be self-serving because it changes nothing. And because she's had well over 30 years to take ownership, go to therapy, change her behavior, yada, yada, yada. And I say that because she is a sociopath and a narcissist, so no amount of therapy in the world is going to change who she is. And I accept that and I understand that. Anyway, the reason that I'm talking about this now is because of a comment left on a video where I was talking about this, and I want to address it. I think it's a really good comment and it brought something to mind for me. Let's get into it, shall we? I was not by my mother's quote-unquote deathbed, and I did not regret not being there. I fantasized the same thing. I never wished my mother dead, nor did I ever wish that she would die. Family members will judge, in caps, you for not being there. Just to let you know, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with how I was feeling or thinking, but especially throughout my childhood, I wished that she would be gone, unalive, all the time. I would fall asleep fantasizing that she would just disappear, whether that meant death or just a disappearance. I did want the finality of death. I can remember feeling that way. And especially when my stepfather died and I walked in and she delivered the news with the crocodile tears, but nothing was falling kind of thing. I remember in that moment, and she embraced me in that moment. And so I was 12, and to have your mother embrace you and to feel like you want her to not embrace you, like feeling that cringe and that nausea. I felt nauseous inside, and I didn't really believe that my dad was dead at that point. So, I had all these conflicted emotions happening very quickly at the same time. And I remember very distinctly thinking, I wish it was you. And I only share this because I know a lot of us have felt the same way, have felt like, listen, I've fantasized about the way it happens. Like, I don't do that anymore because I don't care now. But when I was younger, I would fantasize that whatever it was, it would hit her face first and she would know, because she had such a high priority on her appearance. And I also wanted her to suffer because I suffered at her hands, for lack of a better word, because really at her mouth, at her actions. My mother wasn't particularly is the wrong word. She wasn't physically violent with me a lot. She was particularly violent when she was. For example, dropping me out of a 2-story window when I was 5-6 years old, trying to unalive me. That's particularly violent, right? We have such a weird sense of humor, don't we? Anyway, the scalding hot baths, that's particularly physically violent. But she specialized more in the emotional aspects of it. So even the way, for example, she would run the bath and draw the thing out and, remind me a couple of times, oh, you're going to get into the bath, not you need to take a bath. Like, there were certain things that she did for the buildup around the pain that she would cause me physically, that was much more devastating to me than any of the physical stuff she ever did. So that's why, not that it matters in the big scope of things, because we know that emotional violence and physical violence causes the same type of brain damage. We do know that. I'm not talking about a head injury or something like that. This is not that, but we know that the abuse leaves behind the same markers in terms of developing complex PTSD, for example, which I do have. All this to be said, I'm addressing my dreams, my fantasies around wishing her dead, to allow for other survivors out there to understand that we don't have anything to feel bad about connected to that, or guilty about that. And I'm not saying that you not saying that you didn't fantasize that, means that you would have, that I should feel bad for it. I'm not saying that. I'm not throwing shade or anything. It's just your comment highlighted that to me, and I wanted to kind of normalize those feelings in a very abnormal, abhorrent situation, right? Children growing up being abused, we don't just have escape fantasies. Sometimes we have fantasies on how to stay and get rid of the abuser, sort of thing. And then I want to talk about the family judgment. First and foremost, what other people say about you, the people that are not in your life, for example, the people who never showed up for you, the people who don't actually care for you, show care for you. What those people say about you is actually none of your business, because it's not significant enough to be your business. I know that my relatives throw shade on me all the time. I don't think I'm so important to them that I'm a daily conversation or anything like that. But I think I'm a good distraction for them, because if they can throw dirt at me, they don't have to look at what their part to play in allowing my mother to abuse me. And by proxy, they are also abusers. My aunt calling me a family liar at the age of 4 years old is a prime example of what being complicit in child abuse looks like. The willingness to trash a small child's reputation to ensure that she will never be able to tell what's actually going on in safety, with the knowledge that someone's going to help her. Well, you're also an abuser. So the family system, the narcissistic family system, they're a cult, and they need each other to survive. They cannot survive the way the scapegoat does. We're able to survive on our own because we were trained to survive on our own from a very young age. And unfortunately, sometimes that means doing so quite dysfunctionally, and we have to find balance in the world, and we have to grow the ability to connect with other people in healthy ways, and to identify what healthy love looks like. Because most of us, for some period of time, we do the love we know, right? Which is duplicating oftentimes that family system in our friendships and maybe our romantic relationships as well. But getting back to the words of the family members that will speak about you, that are probably speaking about you whether you go to the funeral or not, ask yourself why it matters. And I know in this case, in the comment, I don't feel like it matters to you. The reason that I'm talking about this is because I know for a lot of survivors, that feeling that everybody is talking about us is so hurtful, right? We really have a trigger point there, because we were taught by our abuser that everybody knows we're the bad one and we deserve the abuse. So it's a really big trigger point for a lot of us. We're worried about losing other people because of the smear campaigns and things like that. So this is what I want to say to you. You can't lose what you don't have. And somebody who knows you, who knows your heart, who knows your soul, who loves you, who cares for you, who's connected to you, they're going to believe their experience with you over what anybody else says. And somebody who's going to believe what other people say rather than their experience with you, they're not worthy of you. And they don't matter. So when you know that these people are, yakking away, ask yourself what actually changes in your life, whether you know what they're saying or not. What changes? Like for me, they don't pay my rent, right? I'm not dependent on them in any physical or emotional way. The only emotional connection I would have is based on my fear of what they're saying, and they don't get to have that with me because I don't care what's going on externally in that way. I care externally what's going on with the people who are in my life and those people that I have relationships with, not relationships like what was going on over there. So if you're out there and you're going through angst about what people are saying, start asking yourself, well, what do their words do? What impact does it actually have? Just to bring yourself back down to earth and ground and get that critical thinking going instead of that survival brain that's been trained into caring about things that are really none of your business kind of thing, right? Every relationship that you have, in my opinion, and this is how I walk through life, needs to have 3 components. You need to feel safe, you need to feel seen, and you need to feel cherished. In other words, you are valued. And all of those 3 have to exist. It should meet that bar for you to know for sure you're in a healthy relationship. Those people, maybe what they say matters, but those people, because they're creating safety, they're cherishing you, and they see you, aren't talking badly about you behind your back. If they have something going on, they're talking to you and resolving and working with you, right? That's what health looks like. Healthy love, healthy relationships. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate your comment, and keep them coming because this helps me address things that are going on that are relevant for you and allows me to know what you're looking for. Again, thanks for being here.